Welcome back to the podcast, James Meadows.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm glad you can come back. I think you're the second person to actually come back, too.
Oh, cool. Who was the first?
My friend Pronab. He graduated, but he comes here like all the time.
Oh, for sure. Cool. But yeah.
So thanks for coming back.
Well, yeah, thank you for inviting me to come back. But yeah.
Do you think this is, I've been told it's a weird setup. Like, how'd you feel after the first podcast?
It was interesting. It was my first podcast, and I don't know, the leg room,
Yeah, I don't know if the cameras can tell how cramped we are, but like, we can't move. Like, let's just put it that way. Like, there's no motion that we can possibly do other than like offsetting the cameras. Like, that's the best way to describe it. We're so like packed in tight. But this is our low production studio, but it's working out pretty well so far. We moved this.
I mean, you get used to the leg room though. It's pretty. Yeah.
There you go. I just had to move that a little closer so we can.
Yeah.
Okay. How often do you get mistaken for Chahal?
All the time. I think it's been about 80 times. And actually, I have a funny story to tell you about that. So we were in Holden Hall. Me and Aaron were in Holden Hall. So I go up to go get some food, and there's these two ladies there. There's one like the supervisor, and then there's like this Muslim girl like doing the food, like actually giving out the food. Yeah. They're both like, "Oh, you look like Black Panther" and everything. And then the Muslim girl started being like, "Oh yeah, you really look like him. Like I like your smile and everything." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure." She was like, "Oh, you single?"
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm like,
0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, she's like, "Where you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Detroit." She's
Wakanda.
Like, she was like, "No, where you really from?" And I'm like, "Detroit."
Yeah.
Because I guess she thought I was African, and I should have been like, "Yo, I'm from Wakanda."
Yeah. I was like, why is that not believable if you say you're from Detroit?
I don't know.
I was like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I guess when you see African people, they just like, you just have to be from Africa. You look like you're from Africa.
Mm-hmm. So the controversy of, is there a difference between like African and black?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
There is a
sure.
difference.
Yeah.
And for those subscribers, if you remember, because Josh has been on this podcast.
Yeah.
Josh is black.
Yeah.
He is a black man.
Yeah.
Where you are more African than black, but if people, like, next to someone who's like like T. T is African.
Yeah.
He's not black. He's African.
Prince of Nigeria.
Yeah, he really is the Prince of Nigeria.
Yeah.
But if you take an African and a black person and put them next to each other, they're different.
Yeah. Yeah, like the thing is, like, I'm technically black. I just speak really proper, so they think I'm from Africa, and I also kind of look like I'm from Africa. So, because my mom forced me when we were growing up, she was like, "Nah, you ain't saying the N-word. You can't say can't, ain't, anything like that." Like, she learned how to speak proper from like shit like I Love Lucy and like Sabrina the Teenage. Well, not Sabrina, Bewitched. And everything. Okay. So she watched a bunch of white television growing up, and she was like, "I want my kids to speak proper so they'll get jobs." So.
It worked.
Yeah. So yeah.
Good for your mom.
Yeah. But yeah, the girl was like, "Yeah, you single?" Like I asked her like, "Where is she from?" She's like, "Oh, I'm from Somalia." She's like, "We could have made a great couple and everything like that." And I'm like, "Oh."
So she was serious about this.
Yeah, she was trying to finesse me, and I'm like,
at the calf?
Yes. And I'm just like,
I admire her courage.
But like, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it. And I was like, I don't know, you gonna make me try to convert to being a Muslim? I'm like, I'm not really with all that. Like, you guys don't really do much for like, your women's right things there. The women's rights in the Muslim community isn't the best, and I'm not really with that.
Yeah, one of my mom's like former coworkers. Yeah. I think he used to live. I don't know if he used to live in Pakistan or he used to live in like a very highly populated Muslim area, and they kept trying to get him to convert.
Yeah.
And I think he just left, like in the middle of the night, just got a plane ticket. Yo, peace. He's out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, because I heard that they like stone people still in like Muslim communities and crap like that.
Well, there are many countries that are heavily Muslim that they don't do that.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and I don't like to touch on it too much because I'm not too educated in it.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you with like absolute certainty is there's like people say like radical Islam.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just Islam.
Yeah.
It's not radical Islam. Like if you're, because I think it's Saudi Arabia, I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but women aren't allowed to drive cars. Mm-hmm. And that's just recently changed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like old school traditions and things like that they've just been like rooted and ingrained, and the countries like that, they refuse to modernize.
Yeah. And I guess it's just different interpretations of the same book, kind of like how people have with the Bible and stuff, like how people can be racist and be really, really religious and stuff like that. It's just different interpretations of the book, because you can read a book and just think differently about it.
Exactly. I mean, just look at it in school.
Yeah.
Like everyone's school is reading like the same like chapter book, right?
Yeah.
And like if you ask them to write an essay on it, you'll get a bunch of different essays.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine, like, if you have only 20 people reading the same book, if you have over 1 billion people reading the same book, you'll have a lot of different interpretations.
Yeah, like when we used to read those circuit notes.
That's what I'm thinking about, man.
And then one of our friends would be like, oh, yeah, no, this is how you do that shit. You'd be like, nah, it's this way.
Yeah, this is how you do that.
Yeah.
And then you finally realize that you're both wrong.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, all right.
We all failed.
Yep. That's what... I think I validated engineering giving us some pretty horrible exams because I believe, and I just convinced myself of this, that they give you ridiculously hard exams so they can test your problem-solving ability. Because the assumption, which is wrong, is that we all have like a base knowledge before we get into the exam.
Yeah.
And then if they give us really hard questions, then they can identify the students who really know the shit, the people who don't know it.
Yeah.
It's pretty flawed.
Yeah, because you're basing that on the assumption that, like, they studied enough and you also taught the material well.
Yeah, engineering professors don't teach jack shit.
Nah.
Like, you have to learn, like, majority of it yourself. You're reading it yourself. Yeah. And it's so bad. Like, some of the... Well, we talked about in the last one. Like, you ask a question in class and he's like, look at the board. Like, bro... Yeah. Are you serious? Like, that was his genuine answer. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, but that was an asshole move.
Like, yo, like, what else are you doing other than trying to teach me? Like, I know you got your research, but, like, you should really try to teach me because, you know, like, I'm the future, you know?
Yeah, I had this conversation with my mom yesterday, and it's not just engineering, but in, like, professional colleges, like law, engineering included, medicine, those... people working in those fields, they tend to be more like, I'm not gonna help you as much because I got my own shit going on. Which don't get me wrong, they definitely do, but it's kind of odd that if you go to like a literary department, they're more inclined to like get you to where they are. Engineering is more like, no, you stay down, I'll go ahead. Which is really counterintuitive of the goal of engineering. It's just the competitive side of it is like U of M does this like pretty drastically because they have competitive grading.
What does that mean?
Competitive grading is, so for example, here at Michigan State, right? If everybody in a class gets a 3-point, you all get a 3-point. Like that's just like the way it is.
Oh, they do it like how ODU used to do it in our Circus 302?
Yes.
Oh,
they do it. Yeah. So we had a class. Yeah, he used to do it just like that. But every class, or like maybe 99% of them are like that. Where it's like you have a set number of students who have a 4-point, 3.5, 3.0, 2.5, 2.0. So
I would be fighting people like it's just
yeah, like your grade is determined based on how shitty everyone else does.
Oh, so that's why they have the stories of like people hiding books inside the library and stuff like that. Oh,
U of M does that very well. Like they prepare you for an asshole world.
Yeah.
Whereas over here at Michigan State, like the general consensus, and I'm not just saying this because I go here. If you ask any MSU student or any U of M graduate, they will tell you this. Michigan State campus has a much nicer atmosphere to it. People here are a lot more open. Yeah. They're a lot easier to talk to. They're just nicer, not better people. They're just nicer people. Like it's very easy to talk to anyone here because they're also open to having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You go to U of M, a lot of that reason is because the university itself discourages you from helping other students.
Yeah, they're like, yo, you got to get your own. Like,
yeah, well, exactly. But that's kind of true.
Yeah.
Because if we both get a 4-point, one of us is 3-5ing. We're not both 4-point. But that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like, oh, nah, you got to make sure you survive. Like, don't worry about my man.
It's so true.
That's kind of like, you remember Brandon? That's like Brandon's mentality. He's like, I got to get mine. Like, like,
he's a U of M student.
Yes, he is. He's like, nah, you try to get yours, but I'm going to get mine no matter what. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it all the way, but I kind of see his logic where it's like, I'll make sure like I'm set and then I'll get you to like over here-ish.
Yeah, but like in the workforce, that stuff.
No, in the workforce, it doesn't do shit. Like you don't want to do that
because it's always about the project.
Exactly. Like you have a common goal that teamwork only actually operates properly if everyone within the team wants the other person to succeed.
Yeah.
That's why if you have like a lot of the like all-star teams for sports, they don't usually do as well as like individual like just state level. Like I know for soccer, for example, like the Brazil national team, they don't do as well as like Barcelona
because like all their individual skills don't translate when you have so many good players. Like you have to give you have to give stuff up. Like the Miami Heat, LeBron. Like Chris
I'm thinking
Bosh,
about that too. Yeah.
Chris Bosh used to be like a 20 point, 10 rebound player, but he had to give all that shit up to win these championships. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to let you don't have to let them, but you have to want them to succeed as much as you want to succeed.
Yeah.
But in a competitive field, it's especially in engineering, you definitely like never see that here. I think we are just very fortunate to have like met each other and have a study group going to where it's like, you need help, I got you. Yeah. Because that's not what it's going to be like in engineering workforce. Like, they don't want you to succeed because then they're afraid that, like... Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no. You're all good.
I'm so sorry. That's the other dude who was supposed to come to the podcast with us. Yeah. But he's asleep. I don't blame him. Yeah. So, like... I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah, in the workforce, you can't actually have someone help you as often as you would like them to because they're afraid that you'll get ahead of them. Yeah. And sometimes it's actually true. No, because engineering is... I talked to Theo about this, too. And Theo is an amazing human being. Like, that guy's just phenomenal human being. And
how does he act around you? Like, is he always... Like, he acts like a nice man? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
He doesn't like you?
Well, we've had our ups and downs.
Oh, okay. No, Theo's always been, like, cordial with me. Like, straight.
It's not that he doesn't like me. He's just like, James, why you put yourself in this position? He's always like, why you fucking up, James? Like...
I can see him saying that, like, to a few people, not just you.
Because, like, I don't know, we would talk about girls and then, like...
Oh, yeah, I never talked about that.
And then, like, try to get into the College of Engineering. He's like, yo... You were supposed to be one of the good ones. Like, now you get a folder. Now I gotta check up on your ass. Like,
oh man,
because like, yeah, it was crazy how I got into the college.
Yeah, we have our getting in engineering college stories are pretty legit. Yeah, because there's I had some bullshit going on for a while. I finally made the cut, but I had a lot of like, if this doesn't work, we got other avenues we're gonna pursue. Yeah.
Like, I had to take one class one semester.
Like, what? Really?
Yeah, I took, like, because I was in physics, Calc 3, and IAH, but I had to retake Calc 2. So he was like, and I was like, yo, this physics ain't going well. Like, yeah. So Theo was like, yo, drop all your classes, just take Calc 3, but you have to at least 3-point Calc 3. So if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have made the College of Engineering. I had to take, like, Calc 2 and physics over the summer.
I took a lot of, like, just bullshit classes beforehand to buff my GPA up, too.
Yeah. But it's that technical GPA because, like, chemistry was what messed me up. I wish I would have took that.
Oh, really? Chemistry helped me a lot.
Yeah. Oh, nah. Chemistry, like, because, I don't know. It was just, like, I didn't have chemistry since, like, 10th grade. Because you went to international. So, like, you probably had, like, AP Chem and everything, right?
We had at International Academy, like we didn't have any regular high school classes.
Yeah.
They were all honors level, and then when you get to junior senior year, you took IB classes. So I took honors chemistry in sophomore year.
Yeah, you see, I didn't even have honors. I had like low level basic chemistry that like every class in high school like I got like an A in, but it was just really, it was stupid easy. It was made to be easy, so it was just It did not prepare me for anything. Like I didn't even know what the fuck a mole was going into.
That situation, like that's some shit you need to know for chemistry.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? We never went over that. Like I was like, yeah, I know how to balance equations. That's about it.
Yeah, and that's more algebra than it is actual chemistry.
Yeah, and like my physics was even worse.
Physics here sucks. Physics in university is just taught horribly.
Yeah.
And the examinations are just dumb.
Yeah.
Like the questions they like, and I'm saying this because I've actually I TA'd a class here for that, and it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like I quit like within the first week because it's just dumb. Yeah. Like when like there's some very very basic concepts that you can explain in a much easier way.
But they just try to make it hard as
make it hard. And the mentality is we're going to make it hard now because things will be hard in the future. Yeah. I was like, that's like saying if you want to teach someone how to play basketball, put up a 5-year-old against LeBron because it'll be hard in the future. I'm like, then he's never going to learn.
Yeah, it's like, why would you create a barrier for entry?
Yeah, exactly. That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah. And also, like, what? It's crazy how Physics 2 was easier than Physics 1.
I agree. I think it was easier too.
Yeah. But maybe that's because like we're electrical engineers.
Yeah, because like Physics 2 is a lot more circuits.
Yeah. And I did take it after taking like 302, so.
Oh, well, and yeah, for you it must have been a breeze.
Yeah. So.
Like, yeah, you better should have 4-pointed that shit after 302.
I was like, yeah, KBL, oh, fuck
it. No problem.
It was either 302 or 202, I forget. But yeah, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, I was saying my conversation with Theo, like circling back to that.
Yeah.
I was during my internship and during a lot of experiences that I've had just on a job. Mm-hmm. I think people need to understand. I'm gonna look at the camera as I say this.
Yeah.
Experience doesn't mean you're good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, do you agree?
Yeah.
Just because you've been somewhere for like over 10 years does not mean you're good at it.
Yeah.
And this is applicable for anywhere. Mm-hmm. Like, you can take someone who's like, and I've seen this more in comedy than anywhere else. Mm-hmm. People are like, yeah, I've been doing comedy for like 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, you're bad at this craft.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is because they're just not taking it seriously. Mm-hmm. They're doing it as like a side thing, which is fine, right? Mm-hmm. But 10 years?
Yeah.
And the implication in a lot of like Asian communities, and I used to get a lot of crap from this from my mom, rightfully so, by the way, that in like Indian like Hindu culture, like not Indian Hindu culture, it's considered very respectable if you see an elder to like touch their feet because that's you asking for their blessing. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's bullshit because me right now, I'm a lot smarter and a lot wiser than somebody who is 80. Mm-hmm. They have more life experience than me. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about just knowledge, I can promise you I'm smarter than them.
Because they can't even really use Google.
Exactly. Like, you don't have access to the information I have access to on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I promise I'm smarter. There's no comparison there. Yeah. Right? Life experience, you have me like... I can never compete with that, obviously.
But does your life experience even apply to like the?
That's exactly my logic. Yeah. Like, what is it? Like, why do I have to touch your feet, ask for your blessing? Yeah. I don't want it.
Yeah.
just because you've lived here a long time doesn't mean you know more about it than I do. Yeah. Like, living 80 years in India is not the same as living 80 years in this country.
Yeah, and especially since this country has changed so much in 80 years.
That's like now than ever, the generation gap. I was like, I respect this person's opinions, right? But I'm not going to ask for your blessing.
And it could also create like other stigmas and everything that you have. Like, let's say you talk to an 80-year-old here in America, like if I talk to like an old black person or something, they'll be like, oh yeah, just like, oh no, don't mess with those white people or something like that. But that's what they went through and everything.
Yeah, but because at the time, believe them, right? Like, don't fuck with them, because when growing up, if you did, you would actually get like physically injured. Yeah. But that's not the same thing now. Mm-hmm. It's very, very different, and that's something that I've been stressing to people, especially in like engineering. What I hate about it most of all is you don't have to be good at your job to be an engineer. Yeah. And like, let's make that very clear. You don't have to be good to be an engineer. Yeah. All you need is a degree.
And to know the right people.
That's what it is. Yeah, like you just need to survive. Mm-hmm. You don't need to thrive. You just need to survive. Yeah. Whereas the reason that's why I like comedy so much is because you have to be good at it to work as one. Yeah. Like, there's no... Engineering is very structured. It's a very structured way to success. Mm-hmm. Like, even if, you have no idea how to get to your end destination, you have a path. Yeah. Go to college, get a degree, apply. Yes. And you'll be an engineer, right? Yeah. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not the day after you graduate. But you will.
Yeah. And you'll make some money. You may not be at the company you want, but...
But you will work as one. And that's not the same thing. Whereas, like, in fine art, for example... Like, if you're a music artist, you have to be good at what you do. In comedy, you have to be funny. Yeah. If you're not funny and you're not good at writing jokes and having good material, no one's going to hire you. And that's what I like a lot about it, because I'm a very young comedian, especially compared to the scene just in Michigan. And I have... Like, I'm doing a lot better than people who've been doing this for, like, 5-6 years. Part of that reason is because I'm taking it more seriously. Like, I'm stressing that I have to write new material every day. Like, every day I spend 2 hours just writing. And a lot of it is just, like, I never use it. Majority, I never use it. But then there's always, like, a little scrap of gold that I'm like, this is something great here. People don't do that.
But so the interesting thing about like the distinction between comedy and like versus like technical things like engineering, like you can look any type of way and be an engineer, but in like comedy you have to present yourself in a certain type of way depending on what you want your brand to be. Do you worry about that at all?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. At such a low level right now, I am concerned with... Are you talking about like my material on stage?
Not only your material, it's just like... Let's say Kevin Hart, for instance, right? Yeah. He not only does he worry about like what his jokes are and everything, like how he portrays himself, like how he dresses when he goes on stage like that and everything, like depending on what you're known as a comedian to do and stuff like that, and also just like how you want to show yourself, like, Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, do you worry about that, like what you wear on stage and stuff like that?
Very, very much. Yeah. Something very prevalent in the comedy community is that people will, and this is not a few people, many people will drink before they go on stage. A lot of people will just show up wearing the clothes that they have on. Whereas I take it, like, I drink, right? Like, it's not that I don't drink as often. Yeah. I never drink before I go on stage.
Why not?
I don't want to depend on alcohol to remove my anxiety of public speaking. I would rather face the problem head on, embarrass myself the first few times, because what if I don't have alcohol? Does that mean I can't perform? Like, no. Yeah. I want to be able to go on stage or speak to an audience not intoxicated. Yeah. That's my main fear. Like, I just don't want to be dependent on it. Yes. And when it comes to how I dress... if anyone watches any of the comedy specials that I put on YouTube, that's how I dress performing any open mic. Okay. I always have like a solid color shirt, like nice jeans, good shoes. Like sometimes I have like a button down with like a collar on it. I make sure that I present myself as someone who's serious about this. Whereas many other people don't do that. They just show up and however they were, whatever they're wearing that day, and they'll have like a t-shirt with like some graphic design on it. There's nothing wrong with that, but understand that comedy is a business. Like, you have to take it seriously if you want to succeed.
Yeah, you got to look a certain way. You got to look professional, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's one of the reasons I've been able to prosper so quickly in such a short amount of time is because majority of comedians just don't take it seriously. Like, they're usually show up to a comedy club like drunk, or they're like not sober in some sort of way.
Yeah, like how what Dave Chappelle did in Detroit.
That's exactly what he did, yeah.
Just come high as hell, like, hey,
once you're at Dave Chappelle's level, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, that's what he said. He's like, I'm so good at comedy that I can, like, make a punchline and then just tell a joke after that. Yeah. And he does. Yeah. And he's good at
crazy. Like, I don't know. That's just, like, too much confidence, though, to just be doing that in your special. Like, hey, here's a punchline.
Yep.
5 minutes later, I'm going to tell you a joke.
But it actually didn't. It was really funny.
How much do you think he actually writes, and how much do you think he just comes up on the, like, when he's just up there?
Well, I actually know this.
Yeah?
Dave Chappelle is one of the few comedians that writes 99% of his material. I say 99 just because he might get, like, a small thing here they're just, like, add in, but like, if he has 100 pages worth of his jokes, 99 and a half are stuff that he wrote himself.
Well, I mean, not
like impromptu on stage,
yeah.
right? That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
That's very hard to do. But, like, Russell Peters does a lot of, it's called crowd work.
Yeah.
Russell Peters does a lot of it. And he says that, like, he doesn't, well, it's like when you talk about, like, battle rapping, you have lines in your head that you're already going to say that are applicable to any audience. Like, so, for example, I have something in my, like, in my, like, first set that I make it sound like I just came up with it, but it's been in my head. I was just looking in the crowd for someone to use it on. It's like, well, what I'll say is, like find a girl in the audience. Doesn't matter who it is. Like, do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
And then, regardless of her answer, I already have something to follow up with it.
Huh.
So it's like, do you have a boyfriend? Whatever. I'm like, yeah, good men can be hard to find these days.
Okay.
That's why I date women.
Yeah.
And that's, but so an answer like that, it doesn't matter how she responds.
Yeah.
So that's what Russell Peters and Dave Chappelle will do. They'll already have set lines in their head, so they'll talk to an audience member. No matter what they say back, like if I ask the girl, if she's like, "Oh, I'm married, I have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend, I have had all of these things."
Yes.
Regardless of their answer, I have a follow up.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what he does.
Okay.
So the amount of, like, completely made up on the spot is almost none. But he'll have things already pre-planned. And he'll find some random person in the audience to use it on. Yeah, no one plants audience members, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That would have been kind of smart to do.
Because that used to be a thing, but it was becoming too obvious. And I'm sure people are still doing it, but when you're performing in multiple venues at once, are you gonna, like, they just call people like, "Hey man, when you show up, make sure to sit in, like, E4." Like, no.
Yeah.
You just do what I was doing. It's like, you have a one-liner that no matter how they respond, it'll work.
And also, so, like, how do you decide how much of your set you're going to do based on audience interaction? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is, I had a show here on campus.
Yeah.
It was the first time I can say I actually bombed. And it's, I was performing at a trivia night. They were playing, like, bingo and, like, some Disney trivia something. And they're like, while we're tallying up the scores, here's some comedy.
Yeah.
And they didn't want anything to do with it.
Oh.
And I was doing my thing, just telling jokes. And that was the first time I'd ever done 15 minutes on stage too. I didn't get through 15 minutes. Like, I was doing my thing, but they were barely laughing.
Yeah.
Like, it was maybe lucky to hear a peep. And this exact same set of jokes, I've been performing at comedy clubs, killing it.
Yeah.
So it really threw me off because I didn't expect people just to be silent.
Yeah.
And I just ended it, like, I don't know how to handle that situation properly because I haven't encountered it enough. And I don't know what people are supposed to do, so I just left the stage early.
So you want to bomb more is what you're saying?
I want to experience more varied audiences.
Yeah.
because then I'll know what to do. Because I don't know how to work an audience as well yet. Because I just don't. How an audience reacts is very. It's very comedy in general subjective, actually. Now that I was talking to like my friend Cecilia about this, and she was saying like after that night, the trivia night, I was like, hey, I pretty much like bombed that shit. She's like, well, comedy is an art that's super subjective, more than music, more than dancing, because for music, for example, if you go to a concert, like a Drake concert, okay, and he has someone opening for him. Like, you don't know who the opener is, but you know he'll have the same genre of music. Right?
Yeah.
When you go to a comedy club, you don't have a clue what the other comedians are going to talk about. It could be any topic. They could be clean comedians, dirty comedians. They could talk about literally anything. You don't know the genre of comedy. So that's why at certain clubs, your jokes will do phenomenal. Whereas in others, nothing will come of it. And that's something I am still learning how to do. Like, depending on how an audience's reacting to my jokes, I might adjust my set midway and just tell some jokes that I know work and they're like neutral to an audience. But like, if I'm making fun of like white people or like black people or Indians, that's when the crowd really matters.
And like, you should probably just like do your research on when you're going to be performing and stuff like that. If you're going to like a predominantly black area, you know, you should have different jokes than like a white area or something, you know?
That's something I was thinking about. I have another fear that I don't want my comedy to be like Indian comedy or just black comedy, because I've never performed at like an all black comedy club before. I have gone to one that was like half black and like half pretty much everything else, and they loved me. And I don't know why black people just they like jokes. They don't care if you're making fun of them. They don't care if you're making fun of yourself. They don't give a damn. They're just here to have fun. And like, I don't know why that is, but I just noticed that like if I was like in an audience and I'm looking at a black guy and I'm just making fun of him, he loves it. He's going crazy about it. But if I do that to a white person, they don't have the same reaction. Not always, but it just in general. I've never like openly like made fun of like, hey, look at this fuck over here. But they love it. They like they laugh uncontrollably. I did that to just some random white dude, and he just shook his head. And I was like, okay, then why are you sitting in the front row if you don't want me to make fun of you? Like, so the research thing, I was tempted to do it, but I don't want to be labeled as like Indian comedian. I just want to be a comedian.
So that leads me to another question. Then what do you want your comedy to be? Like, do you want it to be mostly like life experiences, or like what kind of comedian do you like ideally do you want to be?
So you know who George Carlin is? He's super old, like really good, really well-known comedian, but his thing is like he talks about they call it smart comedy. And his comedy is more like a informative sort of thing. He talks a lot about politics and what's going on currently in the world.
Like Jon Stewart.
Yes, very, very similar to Jon Stewart.
Okay.
Whereas Kevin Hart talks about his kids a lot, and he'll talk about his life. And I found that comedians who talk about themselves are more successful than not. Because the audience, they want to know who you are. And even on a YouTube standpoint, the most successful YouTube channels are not often the ones that have the greatest content. They usually have good content, don't get me wrong. But they like the YouTuber themselves. Like, companies don't invest in companies, they invest in people. So when I'm on stage, I just want to, when I leave the stage, I want the audience members to get a feel of who I am. Because I've just noticed through observation that seems to stick with them more than someone who's just telling like made up jokes. And I'm now getting better at when a comedian is like just made something up on the spot, whereas if they actually experienced it, like now I'm getting to a point where I can tell.
How can you tell?
Because I write jokes myself now. So when I tell them on stage, I even have a slight difference of when I just like make something up, whereas something that actually happened to me, when I rewatch myself, I was like, I even tell the joke differently.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll never see it. But now I can completely look at someone, and I've done this after comedy clubs. I'm like, did you just make that up? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I could tell.
Sweet.
So I'd rather talk about my life experiences because they want to get to know like me. Like, why do you think social media is so big?
Yeah.
Because they want to get to know you.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to just emulate that in my comedy. But
with a little bit of spark comedy too.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I think that the smart comedy just kind of like naturally flows into it. Like if you're talking about your life experiences, and you're like one thing that comedians love to talk about women a lot.
Yeah.
Even women comedians talk about women a lot.
Like okay.
I mean, like they'll talk about like this is what women do, and men are like this is what women do. It's not sexist. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Like some common trait that all heterosexual women have, and I promise you, if any woman is watching this, you have this trait. Yeah. Don't lie to yourself. You do this.
Yeah.
Okay? And like, tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know.
All right, for sure.
You get into an argument with her, okay? And then she brings some stuff up like, no, 3 months ago you did this. Remember that? And you're like, no. Like, why didn't you bring that up 3 months ago?
Yeah.
They all do that.
Yeah.
So they like every woman like that, they have a memory of everything wrong that you've done in your life.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you.
No, they wait to use it.
See?
Like a card.
That's what it is. They all keep it right in here. And that's an argument I get into all the time. I was like, why didn't you tell me that I messed up when I messed up?
I don't know. They like
to this day I don't know.
It's like they're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! They got that trap card ready. Like they be like,
it's like, oh, he don't even know what he did. I can't wait to bring this up later. And they do that. And I was like, you know how many problems could be solved if we addressed the problem when it happened?
Yeah, you just causing bigger problems in our relationship.
I know.
By just holding her on to it. Like,
but see, like, you agree with me. They do that.
Yeah, nah. I was talking to a girl, and then she'd be like, yeah, something's wrong with me, but I'm not going to tell you what's wrong. I just want you to figure it out. I'm like, what? Like, you just want me to be like a psychic? Like, how?
She wants you to figure it out.
Yeah.
What?
And then,
what does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know. This is the same girl that came over to my place, and we got a 2-hour argument on if she should leave or not. At like
what?
From 2 to 4 in the morning. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, after 2 hours, I was just like, I'm done. You can leave if you want. Like, I'm going to sleep.
Did you leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just opened the door, and I was like, I'm going back to bed.
You left the door open?
Yeah. Like, get your Uber. Like, I don't want to see you no more. Like, please don't text me. I still low-key got to break up with her, but...
Oh, well, look, this is a story for another time. We're over our time.
Oh, dang.
I know, like, this goes by fast.
Yeah.
Hey, man, so thank you for being out here. Thank you for coming out. And you guys stay fresh, stay golden.